Okay, we're ready to record. Now in this session, we're going to be taking and hooking up the P3500 to a beverage can. And so hopefully at this point you've already watched the P3500 unit and how to hook up a strain gauge in a quarter bridge. We'll kind of do a little bit of a refresher as we go through this. But basically our can, and you want to be real careful with this, is going to have a couple of gauges already mounted, one for hoop and axial stresses. So channel 1, this top roll, is going to be hooked up to our hoop stresses, axial channel 2. And again, you have two different knobs for balancing those out. So we've got channel 1 right here. Let's go ahead and make those connections to this box. And again, you just put the wire up here, push down, and it holds that wire. Now the red wire is going to go to the red connection. The white wire is going to go to the white connection. Now a lot of students will hook the black wire to the black terminal. That's not going to happen because we're doing a quarter bridge right here, and it talks about the connection. So red to red, white to S minus right here, and then our black wire is going to go to the yellow over here. And so that's the 120 ohm resistor. Now this doesn't know it's 120 ohm until we made the connection over here to 120 ohms. And one of the things I find is going to be that a lot of students will have data that changes, and these connections right here will be loose. Okay, so what we want to do is come in here and make sure that these connections on these wires are tight, because as you can tell, some of those are loose, and that's going to add variation into our data. So make sure that these are tight. We have our connections there. I'm going to take my other strain gauge and hook it up as well. Now we've got that second strain gauge hooked up, and I just want to go over real quick the connections here. We have red to red, black to black, white to white, green to green, and we're going to go to the 120 ohm to the yellow over here. And then we're going to hook a ground to here. So this box is now hooked up to here. What's nice about this box is we have 10 channels, but we're only using 2 for this lab experiment. And to turn it on, we need to set our gauge factor first. So we're going to go to gauge factor, and gauge factor is right here. And you notice it's already set. If it's not set, you need to adjust it right here using this gauge factor dial. Now sometimes there's a lock here and it's locked. You just barely push it up and it'll let it free turn. We want to get that to 2.040, lock it, and we're happy with that. So our gauge factor is now set up with our gauges that we bought. We've talked about that already before. Now we can go to run, and run is going to tell us what we see in microstrain to what channel we have turned on over here. And at this point, if I look at this, I'm on channel 2. So I'm going to go to channel 1, and when I go to channel 1, it's showing that I have a positive 324 microstrain. And again, these have brakes on them, so I'm going to disengage that. I'm going to go to channel 1, which is this one right here. Now some people will try and use this balance. Do not touch this balance. This is a no-no, because if you adjust this balance, it will interfere with all the balances over here. So do the individual channel balances over here. So what I'm going to do is balance this down to 0, and we'll get slow there, and I'm at 0. Again, if people are vibrating the table or moving things, it may fluctuate a microstrain. Okay. The next thing I need to do is go to channel 2, and we need to zero that out. So channel 2 is now 0. If I go over to channel 1, we're at 0, and we're still happy with that. Now you don't want to have people holding the can or putting any forces on there, because if I go over to the can right now and squeeze it, I would be able to see some change in the strain on that. So I want it to be in the free state that it is. The next thing you're going to do is the fun part. You get to come over to your can and you get to pop the top. And then what you're going to do is read the strains for the 2 channels. Now we've zeroed it out with the pressure on the can. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the top here. Open this up. Be careful so it doesn't spew everywhere, but we're relieving the pressure because sometimes these cans get shaken up. We've now opened it all the way and let the pressure off the can. Go to channel 1, write down the microstrain. Go to channel 2, write its microstrain down, and then do your calculations. Now, in terms of drinking this, at OSU, we cannot drink this beverage. We can't be a food serving entity in the labs. This has to go down the drain. So please do not drink this.